The night was cold in New Titan City. Rain fell like needles over the metal streets. Jace, a human janitor, walked slowly through the trash zone of Sector 9. He wore a thin coat, held his cleaning stick, and hummed an old Earth tune. This area was forgotten, full of broken machines, empty crates, and old junk. He had cleaned this place for 5 years and never found anything useful. But tonight, he heard something strange. It was not wind, not machine noise. It was a soft sound, like a small cry. He stopped, looked around, and stepped closer to a pile of broken crates. The sound came again, this time sharper, a whimper. "Is someone there?" Jace whispered, his voice low. He pushed a box aside and saw them, 2 small alien girls curled up inside a broken crate. Their skin was deep blue, their eyes wide and glowing in the dark. They were shivering, soaked from the rain, and had no shoes. One girl had a small cut on her cheek. The other held her tightly, trying to stay warm. They looked scared, lost, and far too quiet for children. Jace knelt down slowly. "It's okay. I won't hurt you," he said softly. The smaller twin looked at him, eyes full of fear. "Don't take us back," she whispered. Her voice was dry, like she had not spoken for days. Jace felt something twist in his chest. They were just kids, thrown away like garbage. He picked them up gently, wrapping them in his coat. They didn't fight. Him didn't speak again. Only the older one held his shirt with tiny fingers, like she was afraid he might vanish too. He carried them through the lower street. Passing blinking signs and cold metal doors, people looked at him, then looked away. No one asked questions, no one cared. When he reached the emergency station, he knocked hard. A tall medical bot opened the door, scanned the twins, and stepped back. "Unregistered exotics," the bot said. "No file, no ID, no service." Jace frowned. "They're children. Not humans, not citizens," the bot replied, and the door shut. Jace stood there in the rain, heart beating fast. The girls were cold, silent, and unwanted. He tried the local shelter next. The worker behind the glass saw the twins and shook her head. "We can't take aliens, sorry, not without papers." "They'll die," Jace said, voice rising. "Then report them to the sector watch," the woman said, then turned away. He held them tighter, walking back into the night. Every door was closed, every eye looked the other way. Even the city system didn't recognize their faces. He scanned them using his wristband. Error, no match. It was like they didn't exist, like someone erased them from the world. Back in his tiny room in the lower decks, Jace laid them on his old bed. He found dry clothes and warm soup. The girls ate slowly, carefully, like they didn't trust it. He asked their names, but they stayed quiet. Only later, when they were wrapped in a blanket, the younger one said softly, "I'm Leary. She's Rena." Then she fell asleep beside her sister, holding her hand. Jace sat on the floor, staring at them. Who left them out there? Why was everyone afraid of them? He looked at their faces, innocent, tired, and blue like the edge of the stars. Whatever their past was, someone wanted it hidden. But Jace had already made a choice. No matter what they were or where they came from, he wouldn't throw them away. Not like the others did. Not while he was still breathing. Morning light never reached the lower decks of New Titan City. Jace woke early, coughing from the dust in his room. He turned and saw the twins still sleeping, curled together like kittens. Their small hands were locked tight, even in dreams. He didn't know how long they'd been on the streets, but one thing was clear. No one came looking for them. He made them breakfast, just warm bread and synth fruit. They stared at it for a while, like they didn't believe it was real. Then Leary took the first bite, slow and careful. Rena followed, more shy, more quiet. After they finished, Jace smiled. "We'll get you help today, I promise." He carried them out into the upper levels, where the glass towers of Sector Core shined bright. Jace wore a work badge to avoid questions. He walked to the Office of Child Welfare. It was a big silver building with green banners and smiling holograms of families, hope, protection, safety. That's what the sign said. Inside, he spoke to a bot clerk. I found 2 alien children. Jace explained. No ID, no guardian. The bot scanned them and froze. Its screen blinked, then shut off. Please wait here, it said, and wheeled away. Minutes passed, then a man in a gray uniform came. He had sharp eyes, a cold smile. You brought unauthorized life forms into the core, he said. They're kids, Jace replied, confused. They are not listed in any interstellar database. The man said, that means no record of entry, no legal status. Someone dumped them like trash, Jace said angrily. Then maybe they were trash. The man answered without emotion. Jace grabbed the twins and walked out fast. The guards didn't stop him. They didn't even care. But Rena looked back, her eyes trembling. They don't want us, she whispered. And Jace had no answer. They tried the interstellar embassy next. The alien at the counter scanned them, then hissed quietly. They are cursed, she said, stepping back. Cursed? Jace asked, shocked. They carry danger. Death follows their kind, the alien said. Others in the room started whispering and pointing. Jace pulled the twins close and walked out. By the time they reached the public square, it had started to rain. The twins were tired, wet and silent again. Jace found an old bench and sat down, holding them both. He looked around. The world was busy, full of lights, vehicles, people. But no one stopped. No one even asked if the girls were okay. Then he tried one last place, Galactic Church of Unity. The priest there looked kind, an older human man with white hair. But when he saw the twins, he crossed his arms. You don't know what you've found, do you? He asked softly. They're children, Jace repeated, tired. They are marked, the priest said, voice shaking. Marked for death, or marked to bring it? Jace stood up, furious. What kind of world looks at 2 starving girls and sees danger? The priest said nothing, only pointed toward the exit. Back in the lower decks, Jace sat with them in his small room. Rena had fallen asleep again, her head on Leary's shoulder, but Leary looked up at him, her eyes shining. You're not afraid of us, she said, not as a question. No, Jace replied, but I think everyone else is. He searched the word blue alien twins on his data screen. Nothing. He tried twin girls with glowing blood. Still nothing. Finally, he typed, unknown alien children found in Sector 9. This time, one article showed, just a headline from years ago. Varela tragedy. Bloodline lost in uprising. Jace clicked it, but the screen flickered, then turned black. An error message popped up. Access denied, Class 4 restricted file. His heart skipped. That name again. Varela. He had heard it before, whispered like a ghost word. He turned to Leary. Do you know what Varela is? She nodded slowly. That was our mother's name, she whispered. She said to never tell anyone. Jace felt cold. Who were these girls really? Why did the systems crash when he searched their name? Why did the city treat them like a plague? And what danger did Varela carry that made the world turn its back? Outside, the city lights blinked like eyes, watching silently. But inside that tiny room, Jace made a decision. He would not run. He would protect them, even if the whole galaxy said no, because someone had to, and maybe, just maybe, the girls were more than orphans. Maybe their fate was bigger than anyone dared to believe. Jace couldn't sleep that night. The room was dark, silent except for the soft breaths of the twins. Rena slept curled beside her sister, but Leary kept waking up. She kept looking at the door like something was coming. Jace sat on the floor with his old tablet in his hands. He tried again to search the name. Varela. But each time the screen blinked red and shut down. No matter which net he used, it said, Error Level 5 restricted. Only military or high-ranking government officers had access to such locked information. But why would 2 starving alien girls be connected to that kind of secret? They were children, not weapons, not soldiers, unless they were something else. Jace leaned back, rubbing his eyes. His heart told him they were innocent, but his mind screamed danger. Still, he had to know the truth. He opened an old channel, one he hadn't used in years. It belonged to a hacker. Friend known as Torch, he typed. Need info on Virella. Found 2 alien girls who whispered that name. No data shows up, everything's restricted. The reply came fast. Delete this message now. Then another. You didn't hear this from me. Virella is not just a name, it's a bloodline, a royal one, lost during the Silent War. If the girls are connected, you're in danger, real danger. Jace stared at the screen, cold sweat on his neck, royal blood, a war. But before he could reply, his tablet froze again. This time the lights in his room blinked too. The air felt heavier, like someone was watching through the walls. Suddenly, a voice whispered from behind. Don't say the name. He turned, fast. Leary was sitting up wide-eyed. Her small hands were shaking, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. You shouldn't speak it out loud, she said again. They hear it. Who hears it? Jace asked softly. The ones who erased us, Leary whispered. Her words were like a knife in the air, light, but sharp and cold. Jace walked over, sat beside her on the mattress. Leary, who are you? He asked gently. She looked down, tears forming in her eyes. I don't remember everything, she said. Only flashes, only voices. But when I hear that name, I feel fire, and ships falling from the sky. Jace felt a chill crawl across his spine. She was just a child, but the way she spoke, it felt like a memory of war. What about your parents? He asked. They're gone, she said. They told us to run, to hide, and never use our name. Jace didn't push more. He just let her lean on his shoulder until she drifted back to sleep. But his mind couldn't rest. If they were part of a lost royal bloodline, that meant someone was hunting them. Maybe the same people who erased their records, blocked their names, and told the world to forget. The next morning he covered the girls in warm clothes and went to visit an old contact. Her name was Mira, a mechanic who once worked on military drones. She had seen things others didn't, and she knew how to hide. Mira lived in the lower engine zones where steam hissed from the walls and everything smelled like oil. When she saw the twins behind Jace, she frowned. You brought them here? She asked, serious. You know something, Jace said firmly. Tell me. Mira looked at the girls, then back at him. They shouldn't be alive, she whispered. They were supposed to die with the Virella fleet. What fleet? Virella was a peace family, a royal bloodline that kept balance between alien clans, she explained. But someone didn't want peace. Jace listened carefully. They attacked Virella's homeworld during the Silent War, Mira continued. Every heir was marked for death, including children. Jace clenched his fists. So they were hunted? Yes, Mira said. And now that they're alive, the hunters will return. Leary and Rena stood quietly behind, holding hands. They didn't look like royalty, didn't act like queens. They were just scared little girls. But the world didn't care about that. The name they carried was enough to turn hope into fear. Suddenly a sound echoed outside. Metal boots, sharp and fast. Jace peeked through the cracks. 3 armored figures were scanning the area, holding tracker rods. He turned to Mira. Can they track by name? No, she said. But if the girls used their voices or touched certain tech, maybe. Jace picked the twins up again. We can't stay. Mira nodded. Go through the pipe tunnels, I'll block their scan. Jace ran with them into the old tunnels, holding them close. As they moved, Rena whispered, I'm scared. I won't let them take you, Jace said, his voice firm. In the dark, wet tunnel, he knew this wasn't just about 2 alien girls anymore. This was a secret so dangerous. The whole galaxy wanted it buried. But Jace had heard the name, he had spoken it, and now he had chosen to protect it. The name was no longer a ghost. It was alive, hiding in his arms, and the world was about to remember it again, whether it wanted to or not. The tunnels beneath New Titan City were dark and silent. Water dripped from rusted pipes, and the air smelled of old metal and dust. Jace moved fast through the narrow passages, holding 1 twin in each arm. Their breathing was quiet, but he could feel the fear pulsing through them. Above them, armored boots still searched the streets, but down here they were hidden. For now, they finally reached a broken maintenance room. Small and forgotten, Jace laid the girls on a dry corner and took a deep breath. His hands were shaking, his heart pounding. He had never run from hunters before. He was just a janitor, an invisible man in a city of machines and shadows. But now he was the only shield between two alien girls, and a world that wanted them erased. Leary sat up slowly and looked at her hand. It was bleeding. A small cut she must have gotten while running. Jace pulled out a cloth to clean it, but then he froze. Her blood was not red. It was silver, glowing faintly like liquid light. It shimmered in the dark, as if alive. What is this? Jace whispered. Leary looked down, ashamed. I'm sorry, she said softly. That's why they hate us. He stared at her glowing hand, unable to speak. Rena looked up too, eyes wide. Mom said we carry the mark, she added. She said it's in our blood. Jace slowly touched her wrist and felt warmth. Not fever. Power. Something ancient. Something not human. He opened his small scan device and pointed it at the blood. The screen flickered, then beeped wildly, showing strange symbols and warning. Signs. Biological signature class Royal Varela strain detected. He stared at the screen in disbelief. It confirmed what Mira said, what Torch hinted at. These girls were more than just survivors. They were heirs, real blood of a fallen. House, you're royalty, he whispered. Leary didn't smile. Not anymore, she said. The Varela name is cursed. But why? What did your family do? Rena answered this time. They tried to stop the war. Jace leaned back against the wall, confused and angry. How could a family that wanted peace be hunted like criminals? The galaxy had twisted something pure into something feared. He remembered what Mira said. Varela was once respected, a symbol of unity between alien worlds. Then came betrayal, then the silent war, and finally, silence. Jace turned back to the girls. Show me your backs, he said gently. They hesitated, but trusted him. One by one, they turned around, lifting their thin shirts. On Leary's back, just below the neck, was a glowing blue symbol. 3 stars inside a circle. Rena had the same mark, but hers pulsed slightly like it was still alive. He had seen this mark before, long ago in a documentary about ancient royal seals. But no one had seen a real one in decades. It was supposed to. Be extinct, your blood. It's not just royal, he whispered. It's sacred. Suddenly, a sharp sound rang from outside, a blast door opening. Jace grabbed the girls and hid behind old panels. He peeked through the cracks and saw 3 figures step into the tunnel. But these were not hunters. They wore robes, not armor. Symbols on their chests matched the glowing mark on the twins' backs. Leary gasped. I know them. They're from the Temple of Starlight, she said. The ones who protected our family. The tallest figure stepped forward and said, Blood of Varela, we felt your presence. Jace stood slowly, holding the girls behind him. Who are you? We are keepers, the man said. Sworn to protect the line until it rises again. They've been hunted, Jace growled. No one protected them. The keeper bowed his head. We failed when the Empire fell, he said. But we have not stopped watching. The girls stepped forward, their eyes locked on the keepers. You remember us? Leary asked. The woman beside the tall keeper nodded, tears in her eyes. You were only infants when the last ship launched, she said. We thought you were lost. Jace didn't know whether to feel relief or fear. These people looked loyal, but where were they when the girls were starving? The lead keeper looked at him. You are not a Varela, yet you shield the last heirs. Because no one else did, Jace said simply. The keeper bowed. Then you are part of their story now. Jace looked down at the girls, tiny, fragile, but carrying a power the galaxy had forgotten. They were not safe yet. But now, someone else remembered, someone else whispered their name. Not in fear, but in hope. And for the first time, Jace saw it too. Maybe the blood in their veins was Not just a mark. Maybe it was a spark, one that could light the stars again. The next morning, the sky above New Titan City turned darker than usual. Thick gray clouds rolled over the upper towers, and a strange hum echoed in the lower decks. Jay stood at the edge of a broken balcony, staring up with tired eyes. Something was wrong. He could feel it in the air, like the city was holding its breath. Behind him, Leary and Rena sat with the keepers in the shadows of the old tunnel hideout. They were calm, but quiet. The youngest keeper, a woman named Taylor, brushed Rena's hair softly. "You've grown. Strong, little one," she whispered. "We didn't grow strong," Leary replied. "We just didn't die." Jace turned back to the tunnel entrance as he heard footsteps. Torch had arrived, the hacker who warned him before. His face was hidden behind a dirty mask and his jacket buzzed with small tech tools. "You said it was urgent." Torch said, panting. "They're here," Jace said. "The ones hunting them." Torch pulled out a scanner, eyes narrowing as he read the signals. "They're not just bounty hunters," he said. "They're Black Echo." Jace frowned. "Who are they?" "Not who what," Torch replied. "A private force made from old Empire assassins. They wipe out bloodlines, erase planets, clean up dirty history." Jace looked back at the twins. "They're here to finish what the war didn't." Suddenly, the room shook, dust fell from the ceiling, and a blast echoed through the tunnel. "They found us," Taylor whispered, standing up fast. Torch's scanner beeped faster and faster. "There are 6 of them, armored, armed," and moving in a split pattern. Jace turned to the keepers. "You said you'd protect them." "We will," said the lead keeper, "even if it costs us everything." The twins stood up, no longer afraid. Their eyes were glowing faintly, now, blue light with silver rings. "I can hear them," Leary said, voice flat. "They talk like machines, but they smell like fear," Rena added. The keepers formed a defensive circle, pulling out energy staffs that flickered with white fire. Jace grabbed a shock blaster from Torch and positioned himself at the side tunnel. He had never used one before, but today, he had no choice. Lundi. First hunter entered with a crash. Tall black armor, red glowing visor. Without a word, it fired a pulse at the group. Taylor jumped forward, deflecting it with her staff. Jace aimed and fired. His shot missed but distracted the hunter. Then Leary raised her hand, and something strange happened. The air bent around. Her fingers and the hunter's armor cracked. A pulse of blue light shot from her palm. Not like a weapon, but like a command. The hunter froze, its visor sparking. And then it collapsed. Everyone stared at her, even the keepers. "I didn't mean to," Leary whispered, breathing hard. "It's your blood," the elder keeper said. "The royal line once had voice control over ancient tech. You awakened it. Before they could speak more. More footsteps echoed. 2 more hunters appeared at the far end. One launched a grenade. It exploded near the wall, blasting dust and rock. Jace shielded the girls while the keepers fought with everything they had. Taylor was, fast, spinning with her staff like a windstorm. The others moved in sync, old warriors awakened by duty, but the hunters were stronger. One keeper fell, his armor split, light fading from his eyes. Torch tried to reroute tunnel doors, but the system was jammed. "We can't hold them forever," Jace shouted. "We need to escape." "I can open the old cargo shaft," Torch said, "but it leads straight to the smuggler routes." "Better than dying here," Jace replied. Leary touched the wall with her hand, and glowing lines appeared. An ancient symbol lit up, a hidden door opened, revealing a narrow tunnel full of old wires and crates. The keepers guided the girls inside. Jace and Torch followed, covering the rear behind them. 2 hunters chased through fire and smoke. Just as the last keeper turned to fight, one hunter spoke, its voice distorted but clear. "The blood must end. You fear what you couldn't kill," the keeper replied. And with one last swing, he brought the tunnel down, burying himself and the hunters in the rubble. The escape tunnel was tight and long. Every step echoed like thunder, but the girls didn't cry. They held Jace's hands, one on each side. "We can't keep running," Leary said. "We have to show them who we are," Rena added. Jace looked at them both. No longer just children. They were survivors, daughters of stars. And now the galaxy knew they were still alive, which meant it would either come to destroy them or rise to protect them. He looked back one last time. As they moved deeper into the smuggler routes, the mark of royal blood still glowing on their backs, and he whispered to himself, "If the Empire wants them dead, then it's time the Empire remembers why it feared them in the first place." The smuggler routes beneath New Titan City were older than most of the towers above. They twisted like forgotten veins, built long before the city was even mapped. Jace, the twins, Torch, and the last two keepers moved carefully through the tunnels. The only light came from the glow on Lyri and Rena's backs, the royal mark pulsing with soft blue fire. Each turn led deeper into the unknown. But no one stopped. Not after what? They escaped. Not after who they lost. After an hour of walking, they reached a giant chamber hidden behind thick steel doors. It was quiet, full of old crates, fuel tanks, and shadows. Torch tapped a hidden panel and the wall opened to reveal a secret room, small, warm, and filled with data units. "This is where I live," Torch said, pulling off his mask. His face was pale, tired, with cyber lines around his eyes. "I've been watching this city for 10 years, he added, but never thought the Varela line would return. Jace placed the twins on a soft mat while the keepers stood watch near the door. The girls were tired but awake. Rena curled into Lyri's side, her hand gripping her sister's tightly. Jace knelt beside them. "Rest, I'll protect you," he said. Lyri looked up at him, her eyes serious. "You already have." Torch powered up an old screen. Files started to flicker. Images, names, battles from the silent war. A map appeared showing how the Varela family tried to unite different alien races under peace treaties. But then, red lines slashed across. The map, betrayals, bombings, assassinations. They weren't just rulers, Torch explained. They were guardians of the Galactic Pact. They held ancient knowledge, technology from the first colonies, and control codes for old war machines. If the bloodline ends, those systems die forever. Jace leaned forward. "You're saying the twins are the key to forgotten tech?" Torch nodded slowly. "Yes, and more. The Varela blood carries encoded memory sequences, commands passed from parent to child. That's why the hunters want them gone," Taylor said. "Not just to kill the name, but to erase what it unlocks." Lyri stood up slowly. "I remember light," she said, voice soft. "Big halls, silver walls. My mother's voice telling me something before we ran. Something about a gate." Torch's eyes widened. "The gate of starlight," he whispered. "A lost system with enough energy to power a fleet or destroy one. If the girls know how to access it." He didn't finish the sentence, but everyone understood. Jace looked at the twins. Not just survivors now. They were living keys, living codes, living targets. Suddenly, the wall screen blinked red. "Unidentified. Lifeforms approaching 10 meters south pipe access." "Trackers found us again," Torch said, jumping up. "We need to move." But the keepers didn't panic. "We expected this," the older one said, "and we planned for it." He pressed a hidden button under his armor, and the floor opened, revealing a vertical shaft with an old lift. "This leads to the deep vaults," he said, "where Varela tech was hidden long ago. It's sealed, but if the girls are truly heirs, it will open for them." Lyri and Rena looked at each other, then nodded. They stepped onto the platform with Jace and the others. As the lift dropped slowly into darkness, the sound of echoing boots followed them above. The hunters were near, but they were one step ahead. The lower level was colder, filled with ice and strange humming. Crystal walls glowed faintly and wires ran along the ground like roots. The group stepped forward until they reached a massive circular door. No handles, no buttons, just a smooth silver surface. Lyri stepped forward first. Her hand touched the door, and a ripple spread across the surface like water. Rena followed, placing her hand beside her sister's. Symbols lit up. 3 stars in a circle. The Varela crest. The door shivered, then slowly opened with a deep, ancient sound. Inside was a chamber full of glowing columns, strange machines, and floating data cores. The tech inside was not from any known race. It was older, cleaner, more powerful. Torch gasped. This is first-gen design. Lost before the great expansions. This is what they were hiding. The keeper bowed. The vault of Virella. And only the true heirs can command it. Jace turned to the girls. This is yours, he said softly. Rena looked around in wonder. It feels like home, she whispered. And Leary added, but home needs to be protected. The keeper smiled sadly. Then prepare yourselves, he said. Because once the galaxy learns you're alive, it won't send just hunters. It will send armies. Jay stood tall beside them, his old clothes dirty, his hands bruised, but his eyes burned with purpose. They can come, he said, but they'll have to get through me first. And somewhere deep in the galaxy, ancient machines began to stir. The name Virella had returned, and with it, the fate of countless worlds would soon be decided. 3 days passed since the vault of Virella opened. 3 days of silence, preparation, and whispers in the galaxy. But silence could not hold forever. Not when the bloodline returned. Not when 2 alien girls awakened tech the universe had forgotten. In the deep chamber below New Titan City, Leary and Rena stood at the core of the vault. Their hands touched the crystal columns, sending blue light through the walls. Ancient codes flowed from their touch, unlocking files, plans, coordinates. They didn't fully understand it, but the machines did. The vault remembered them. Torch set up communications while the keepers restored old defense systems. Jace watched from the side, feeling both proud and afraid. He had seen the girls change, not become harder, but stronger. They still held his hands when they got tired, still asked for soup, still called him Jace. But when they stood in the light, they looked like leaders, not orphans. And now the galaxy knew. News had leaked. Photos, video, witness reports. The Empire's biggest secret was now its greatest problem. The last heirs of Virella were alive and humans were helping them. The response was immediate. Ships arrived above the city, black, red, shaped like daggers. Broadcasts began, calling the news false, calling the twins imposters. But no one believed them. Too many had seen, too many had remembered the symbol of peace that was buried in war. On the 5th day, the vault received a message. A face appeared on the old screen. A high commander of the new empire. Cold eyes, metal jaw, golden armor. You are holding unstable relics of a dead family, he said. Release them, or be treated as traitors. Jace stepped forward before anyone else. He stared at the screen and said, you threw them away. You hunted them, and now you're scared of what they might become. The commander narrowed his eyes. Who are you to speak for them? I'm no one, Jace said. Just a janitor who gave them soup when you gave them bullets. But today, he added, I speak for them, because I'm the only one who listened. The commander's image vanished, and alarms began to scream. The attack had begun. Warships moved into the sky. Troops dropped to the lower decks. Hunter units marched again. But this time, the city did not turn away. People began to rise. Aliens, humans, forgotten workers, all who had once been thrown aside stood together. Jace and the twins rode the lift to the surface. He wore an old worker's jacket but now carried a royal crest on his chest. Leary stood at his left, Rena at his right, their eyes glowing bright. A shield field hummed around them. Old Virella defense tech, powered only by their blood, protected the streets. The commander landed with his elite guard, stepping out with his golden boots striking the ground. He looked at the girls, then laughed coldly. They are just children, he said. No, said Leary. We are memory. We are voice, Rena added. And we remember everything you tried to bury. The commander raised his hand to give the order, but before he could speak, the ground pulsed. The vault responded, and dozens of drones rose from hidden chambers, each marked with the royal symbol. They hovered above, not attacking, just waiting. Jace stepped forward, standing between the girls and the enemy. He spoke through a citywide broadcast. 5 years I swept your floors, he said. 5 years I watched you walk past the poor, ignore the weak, and erase the broken. But these girls? You couldn't erase them, because they carry something you'll never have, hope. The troops paused, their weapons lowered just slightly. Some looked at each other, uncertain. The commander shouted, "Fire!" But nothing happened. The weapons shut down. The ships powered off. And then, slowly, the soldiers knelt, one by one. The enemy army dropped to their knees, weapons cast aside. The twins had activated the vault's final defense, a pulse of command that recognized their blood. The Empire's own tech refused to fight them. The commander stood frozen. He tried to run, but the drones blocked his path. Lyri spoke softly. "Go," she said, "and tell the stars we are not forgotten." "We are Varela," Reyna added, "and we are home." The commander vanished, his ship retreating without fire. The war was over without a single shot. Jace looked at the city, people cheering, lights glowing again. The girls turned to him. "What happens now?" Reyna asked. He smiled, tears in his eyes. "Now you lead, and I'll make sure your feet stay on the ground." That night, the stars above New Titan City shined brighter than ever, and across the galaxy, one name returned to every mouth. Not with fear, but with hope. Varela had risen again, and it all started with one human who chose not to walk away.